Look, I could point to probably a number of different reasons, and most of them are all on offense. But I feel like it's really two main things. Number one, they've just unfortunately missed on some quarterback evaluations. I think that Peyton Thorne was he was a good quarterback, but there were some weaknesses as far as how it fit with what Hugh wanted to do. And then I think you're seeing a lot of the same things with Jackson Arnold. So that's a tough question you have to ask. Do we have a development problem or do we have an evaluation problem? Honestly, it could be a little bit of both. But really, you struggled at the quarterback position, and you've seen across the country some of the best teams in the country right now are just having phenomenal quarterback play. So that's number one. And then number two is I really think Hugh gave up on having someone else run the offense too quickly. And I will admit that I championed that move. I championed the move for Hugh to call the plays because, as he said multiple times over the last 3 years, that he's had success everywhere he's been, and he's had a little bit of an edge at times as well as just, hey, I get in the flow of the game, and I'm just one of the best play callers in the country. And I don't think up until just recently many people would argue with that. But what I think is happening, and you've seen coaches like Kenny Dillingham and Eli Drinkwitz both come to the realization that with the job the way it is today, as big as it is, heck, these staffs are like upwards of like hundreds of people now. Like you manage a multi-million, tens of millions of dollar organization, and you're responsible for all of it. And then combining that with coming up with a game plan and then executing it on the field, I think it's just too much. And Kenny Dillingham and Eli Drinkwitz both recently have given up play calling. And I think Kenny was like, look, here's the deal. I couldn't be in all of the meetings. I couldn't be a part of crafting the game plan. So while the plays I'm calling on Saturday might make sense, the problem is I'm not the one that put it together. So I walk out there Saturday and they hand me a play sheet, and then I'm calling a game plan that someone else thought up in their mind. So I think maybe that's a little bit what's going on, and there's just a disconnect between the game plan and then what Hugh wants to do, and it just becomes a mess. And I'll say this too. I think he's got a lot of I'm going to say quotas going on in his head. He's thinking of play calling and roster management. I think at the same time, I got to have X amount of touches for this person. I got to have X amount of targets for this person to keep everybody happy. And I just don't think that is a recipe for success. And that's why it looks like a complete mess on offense. And then you look at the other side of the ball, and they rotate and play a ton of guys, but the product looks the same no matter who's in the game. So I could probably give you a list of 5 or 10 things that are going wrong, but basically it all points back to Hugh and organization and game planning. And I think he would tell you himself he's fallen short there right now, and they got to get something fixed, and they got to get something fixed quickly if they're going to mend some of these fences.